At that point, when I conclude with that, I'm going to open up the questions. And then at the conclusion of that, the advising team, advising has moved into the college. So Valerie is going to introduce new advisors, and the school directors will introduce new faculty and staff to the college. So that's the plan for today, all right? So to start with, thank you. To start with, I want to introduce college staff. So this year I have 2 associate deans, Tammy Cashel and Chris Mullins. Stand up, Tammy. Stand up, Chris. So Chris is the associate dean for academic and student affairs. So he handles all things regarding curriculum, student issues, that sort of thing. Tammy has a more diverse portfolio where she's handling research, issues related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and personnel issues. So they're my go-to people when I have trouble or questions, or we just need to kind of sort things through. And many of you will be interacting with them quite a bit. Thank you. Most of you know Chad Waters. He's been with the office for, 4 years now, Chad? Is that right? 6 years, 4 years. Yeah. He's my right-hand person. When I don't know where I'm going, where I'm supposed to be, Chad does and makes sure I get there. So, well, Chad, can you get us some help there? Right on cue. We didn't plan that, but it works. Next, in our senior business in our business office, this year we were given 2 senior business manager positions and an accountant 2. So we have 1 senior business manager. We had 1 person move yesterday, at the end of yesterday, to a new position. But we have Andrea Steen as senior business manager, and Shannon Harms as accountant 2. And Shannon is new to SIU. We actually stole her from the co-op. So Audrey, our apologies to Jason. We have 2 recruiting and retention coordinators. Deb Hudson, who I think most of you know, she's been manning the show, so to speak, for quite a while. And then not new to the college, but new to the position, Brittany McElroy. And I'll talk a little bit more about what they're going to be doing in the coming year. Working alongside Chad and myself, we have Elizabeth Benson, office administrator. Thank you. Very good. And Elizabeth is also new to SIU. And we have Valerie Brooks Wallen in advising. You all know her. And then her assistant, Maria Lenzini. We have 2 graduate assistants that are here and that work very closely with us in the office. Anytime I can't figure out something with Excel or, well, anything technology, they're my go-to. Chloe Grover and Janie Bobzar. And then we have 2 affiliated staff, Nathan Black, who is basically all things IT and technology. I don't know if Nathan's here, but he works not only up in our office, but really he helps anyone in any of the schools, and he's kind of a master of everything. So, and then Stephanie Taylor, our director of development. Stephanie was coming. I don't know if she's here yet. Okay, very good. But I think most of you know Stephanie, and she's director of development. And I think I hit everybody. So what I want to talk about next is my view of the college and what I've learned from being here for a year. One of the concerns I had, quite frankly, when I took this position was that I would have to stand in front of you at some point in time. I would have to stand in front of students and parents and donors and friends of the college and communicate a clear message and communicate a vision and basically tell our story. And to do that, an administrator needs to tap into what's special within a university, what's special within a college. And that's not in my DNA by nature. When I think of my kids, for example, they're certainly special to me. They're special to my wife, but are they really special to the greater world? We don't know that yet. Their story's yet to be told, but I have 3 children. Probably not. All 3 are not going to hit a mark of specialness to the rest of the world. And so when I think of colleges and I think of universities, certainly each college and each university has unique features, unique characteristics, but I see special as something inordinary, uncommon, and truly unique. And so when I was coming and I looked at this college and I thought, health and human sciences, justice, public safety, psych, I can work those into a story. But I also have automotive and aviation. How does it fit? How do these pieces of the puzzle fit together in a unified whole? Fortunately, it was crystal clear within 2 months on the job. Within 2 months on the job, I met with the school directors, 2 or 3 months. We met and spent a half a day talking about the schools and the college. I was spending time with Steph Taylor about what are we telling people as our story. And it was very clear in that very short period of time. And I believe this. And I just told you, I don't even consider my own kids to be necessarily special in the world. So I don't use special lightly. But I saw very clearly, very quickly, that what makes us special is what you do and who you are for doing it. And that is providing service to others. At the core, when you look at our schools, when you look at the activities of the faculty and the staff in our schools, that's what we do. We serve others. We help people in terms of their, health and behavioral health. We help people feel better. We help people with wellness, physically, mentally, emotionally. We help people transport or transfer from place A to place B in a safe, efficient manner. We provide safety. That's what we do. And all of that can be captured in the sense of the service of others. And it's been easy to stand in front of prospective students, parents, alumni, potential donors, and communicate when they say, how does this all fit together? It fits together very easily in that, we make lives better, and we do it by serving others. Every single program in our college works in the service of others. And that's a very easy story to tell. And that's a very easy thing to latch onto, to appreciate, and to celebrate. And for me, it took stress off of how am I going to communicate a vision for a very dynamic and diverse college? Because I didn't have to create a story. You already live it, and it's right there. That's what we do. And we do it at the regional level, but we do have national and global impact. Don't get me wrong. But I've yet to be at a university that impacted the region the way SIU impacts Southern Illinois. When there's a problem in Southern Illinois, whether it be a lack or a shortage of healthcare professionals, gun violence in the Carbondale area, you name it, they call us to assist. They call us to come in and help, because that's what we do. We serve and we make lives better for other people. And from my perspective, having been here 1 year, that truly makes us special. I couldn't say that about my former department in college. That's not a knock against my former department in college, but I gave a number of talks. I never said that, because I think that it's unique to us, and I think that's what makes us special. And I celebrate you for doing that. That's who you are. So when I think about this first year, no surprise from what I just said, very clearly the staff and faculty are the backbone of SIU. You're what makes this place go. You're what makes SIU special, right? I've said to my school directors, and I said it in multiple administrative staff meetings, that I would put the faculty and staff at SIU up against any faculty and staff anywhere in the country in terms of your dedication, your commitment, your passion, and your love for the university and all things Saluki. I'd put you up against any university in the country. And what's most impressive about that is you've done it when you haven't always had the support financially from the state. You've done it without resources in many cases. And quite frankly, you've done it without feeling emotionally, or whatever adjective or however you want to describe it, support it in many cases. I knew when I applied for this job, there were morale issues. It was very clear when I interviewed for this job, there were morale issues. Y'all were very transparent about that. I appreciated that. But what I didn't recognize, and what no outsider could recognize, was the magnitude of 10 years of buildup in terms of hurt feelings, feeling lack of support, feeling a lack of appreciation, right? Things that lead to morale issues. Yet you've maintained a commitment to the mission, not just of the university, but that mission of what this college does, and that serves others. You've served without receiving. I just had an offhand conversation with Chris in my office about a half hour before coming over here, that just because we serve others doesn't mean we can't receive. That's the definition for burnout. Yet that's largely what you've been doing for 10 years, and we need to fix it. And how are we going to fix it? The one thing that's permeated my thoughts in the evenings when I'm on a run or laying in bed, not falling asleep or whatever, the one thought that permeates my mind more than any other is, with these morale issues, what can I do? What can I do at the college level? What can I do as the dean to start to address these things? Well, the easy fix would be if the state gave us a lot of money, we could give you appropriate raises that you've lacked for the last 10 years, but unfortunately that's not coming. So we have to figure out other ways. We need to do a better job of making sure you do feel appreciated, that you do feel recognized. We've started that a little bit. This year, we started Above and Beyond Award to recognize staff for the service that you do, for the times that you go out of your way when it's not even necessarily part of your job, but you go out of your way to help somebody else. When that gets recognized and pointed out, we want to recognize that and provide reinforcement for that. We give an award with a nominal stipend, honorarium. We need to do better about that to avoid that burnout, right? We need to create opportunities and provide support. There's no secret that SIU, we're down in terms of staff. We see it every day. It takes a long time to get paperwork approved because we're down in staff. And what that's meant for many of you is doing more with less, and then compounding it is not getting a raise for doing more with less, right? So we need to find ways to provide supports. We're looking at that in the college. You'll see as I get through some of the metrics and things that we're trying to do to where we can provide some of that support, you'll see that we're trying to do that. And the school directors are looking at how they can do that as well. We're having discussions about what they can do to improve how we operate and what we can do at the school and the college level to make sure that you have not only opportunities, but support to do what you need to do. But the big one is salary increases. It's hard to feel appreciated when you go 10 years without an increase in salary. I recognize that. I don't understand it because I've never experienced it. I was at lunch with Paul Frazier last week, and we were talking about some things we're trying to do in the college. And he actually brought it up about, do you recognize the lack of raises and what that's meant and what that's done? And we both said at exactly the same time, I'd have been gone. So I say that not for you to think, well, I'm flippant, I would just jump ship, but to, again, recognize and celebrate your commitment to SIU and your commitment to continuing the mission of SIU and the mission of this college in terms of serving others without those raises. But we can't keep doing that. We can't keep asking you to do that. We need to fix the salary issue. Last year, the chancellor worked very hard to ensure that there was a 2% raise. He's already communicated a commitment to do that again this year. It's already in the plans. He's already working on it. So you can anticipate another 2% raise. I can say that in a public forum because he did. 2% raises don't add up very quickly when you've gone 10 years without. So we have to think about other ways to be creative and think about other ways to supplement salary. Again, if the state would give us an influx of money, we could give everybody raises, but that's not happening. But there's opportunities out there. About a month and a half ago, a school director and I were at Hunan's having drinks before a business meeting with a donor. We weren't just there having drinks. With a friend of the college and a donor. And the school director and I were talking about this issue exactly, about the work that the faculty and staff have put in. And we focused on staff in terms of being the lowest paid people on campus, and yet staying committed and staying in the job without raises for 10 years. And the donor said, what if I could get an organization to give us $50,000 for the school? Could you earmark that for salary? And I said, well, that's a very interesting idea. I don't know. We have to talk to Steph Taylor. Steph was coming to the dinner, pulled her aside. She said, of course, that's easy. We write it into the gift agreement. Fast forward about 4 weeks, Board of Trustees had a meeting. I don't think it's any secret about what I'm going to say next. Regardless of how you feel about it, I understand from word on the street, so to speak, that there's mixed thoughts, mixed reactions. But the chancellor and the president were given bonuses from the foundation, and the Board of Trustees approved it. And what that does is exactly what this donor suggested that we do. So it creates an opportunity for us to do that at the college level. So my job, Steph and I, are already talking about who can we go to raise money at the school level and earmark it specifically for salaries for faculty and staff, so we can do that exact same model. So regardless of your thoughts on what occurred in terms of that Board of Trustees meeting, it creates an opportunity and an avenue for us to work to create support for you. And you'll see when I get to the development section of the talk, that's my top priority right now. That's where I'm going to spend my time. We have other goals. We have, I look back there because Steph's here now. Steph, you weren't here when I introduced, but she's there now. But that's one of my top goals. Well, it's my personal top goal for this next year is to raise money for each school earmarked specifically for salary. Again, I'll talk about that in a moment. It's through these types of approaches that we can start to try to repair what it took about 8 months, quite frankly, for me to, I know there's morale issues. I understand it. No, I understood there were morale issues. I didn't understand the depth of the hurt feelings. I didn't understand the depth of pain. And it doesn't come from the current administration. You know, we all walked into this, the chancellor, his new cabinet, all the deans. But we see it, we recognize it. You don't have to be here very long before you feel it. And so now it's time to start working on it. And that's my commitment to you this year, is I'm going to start working on it in that avenue. Oh, I already said there'll be raises. Okay. Well, that's the motivational portion of the presentation. I don't know if you're motivated or dejected, but that was the motivational portion. Now we'll just get into some data. I just want to share with you where we're at, what we're doing, and how things look going forward. So first off, in terms of enrollment, we're looking really, really good. This is 3-week data. Deb Hudson sends out, and Chloe and Janie work on this every week where they're sending out reports. But I just pulled the 3-week data. And this is where we look in comparison to previous years with the number of registrants at the 3-week mark, 3 weeks before classes start. We all know that's really the 10-day count that matters. But when you look here, we're up 3.9% from this point last year. We're actually only, Deb, refresh my memory, about 100 below our 10-day count. So we're already close to our 10-day count. So our enrollment's looking good. And enrollment matters. That's how we generate revenue. In some states, enrollments aren't the direct revenue source. Where I came from, for example, prior to being here, the state had a formula, and the more students, the state gave you more money. So you got the tuition, but you also got increased state money. It doesn't work that way here. So we have to generate enrollment to increase our revenue, and we're doing that. The university as a whole is looking good, but we're really looking quite impressive. I think all the schools in the college are showing an increase, with one being pretty close to flat, and we'll see. Hopefully that one's going to go up as well. So it's not just at the college level that we're seeing the increase, it's really across the board. And again, it's because we have a very simple story to tell that is meaningful and impactful, and it attracts students. No secret, you know this, we're by far the largest college on campus. It's always kind of a source of pride when we have particularly informal Dean's Council. I have Dean's Council where we meet with the provost and other administrative leaders, but then we have informal Dean's Council where just the deans meet. It's always fun to talk about what we have in that meeting, because we're the biggest and the best. So it's a fun discussion. You can see the percentage there. That was undergrad enrollment. This is grad enrollment. We're clearly, we're a workforce. We're a workhorse. We're the driving force in terms of enrollments for SIU, but we're not stopping there. I showed you this map last year. Last year, Kara and Deb, they were road warriors. They were on the road every week, a couple times a week, visiting schools, high schools, some junior colleges, occasionally junior colleges. It got to the point, I think the advisors at these schools were going to start telling us, quit coming. We don't have room for any more T-shirts in the closet or swag bag on the shelf. But it paid off, because when they had a problem and they couldn't get a student, I don't remember what the issue was, something with paperwork, they simply called Deb. She got them where they needed to be, and on we went. Well, we're going to do that again. It worked last year based on our anecdotal data. We haven't figured out a good way to really track data with that, but we think it worked, and so we're going to do it again. Recruitment is just one part of the equation. If we don't retain students, it doesn't matter how many students we bring in, we're just not going to grow. We're not going to get where we need to. SIU has a lot to be proud of. We have a lot to celebrate. This is not one of them. This is our 6-year graduation rate. The national average is 62%. The university as a whole, you can see, doesn't hit 50% in any of these previous 6 years. So 2012 data, that means a student came in 2012. What was the likelihood that they graduated in 2018? For SIU as a whole, 40%. For us as a college, 45%. I know you might be thinking, well, CHHS didn't exist then. We pulled all the programs from COLA, from CASA, and education. We lumped we just pulled the program data, lumped it together. That's what this is. If we're going to grow enrollments, we need to fix our retention of students. That's one of our key issues. Again, I said the national average is 62%, and we're not there. We have some schools that are higher. We have some schools with competitive admissions, and they tend to do better in terms of the retention numbers, and schools without competitive admission tend to perform at a lower level. That's just the nature of the academic world. That's going to be the case wherever you are. But the bottom line is, this would suggest that we're bringing in some students who are not prepared for college. They are not prepared for the rigors of the academic endeavors they're going to experience here at SIU. So I believe it's our job, if we're going to bring them in, that we then support them in terms of helping them get through and navigate the college experience. So we're going to tackle that. I asked each school to come up with initiatives to tackle retention at the school level. Each school director worked with the leadership team or the faculty within the school to identify strategies at the school level that you could implement to begin to improve our overall retention. And then we're doing the same thing at the college level. Just to give you a couple examples, we have an open house after this. I'm sure you've seen the flyers. I'm hoping you'll attend that. If you want cookies and cake, you have to go over there. Chad said, are we going to have refreshments? We usually have refreshments after the kickoff. I said, Yes, but at the open house, that way they all have to come over there. The LLC, decked it out. We put a lot of icing on the cake in terms of the LLC. You'll see that if you go over there. It looks sharp. Deb called me bougie. It was the first time in my life I've been called bougie. I bougiefied, I don't know if that's a word, but I bougiefied our LLC. It does look sharp, but that really, again, is the icing on the cake. The cake is your participation in the LLC. So Chris is actually meeting with each school director over the next week to week and a half to identify what is going to be the school involvement, what is going to be the faculty and staff engagement with students in the LLC, so we can begin to really make sure we have a handle on how students are doing, make sure they feel connected to us, and make sure they don't fall through the cracks so we can improve on those retention rates. As easy as our story is to tell in terms of the service that we engage in for others, it's not an easy story to tell a parent that bring your kid to SIU and in 6 years, there's a 50-50 chance they'll graduate with a degree. That's not an easy story to tell, and that's a story we need to fix. And fortunately for us, it's pretty easy to fix with a little bit of effort and a little bit of work. So we're going to do that. We're working to develop some other programs to identify and provide services for at-risk students. I spent my research career developing programs in prisons, treatment programs. I don't know why it took me so long, but it took me about 7 months sitting here, and I thought, I know about program development. I know how to evaluate programs. Why am I not thinking like a scientist here and think about how can we build programs that work? I did it in prisons, and I proved that they work. Why can we do that here? And we can, and so we're working on that. I'll talk about one initiative a little bit later, but we're going to do it at the college level, and the schools are working at it, and you're going to see it in your schools. Some of you have already been part of those discussions to begin to tackle that issue. Another public statement that the chancellor has made, and it's alluded to in the strategic plan, is a push towards Tier 1 research status, R1 status. He's actually conducting an analysis to see where we're at as an R2 institution and what it would take to make the jump to an R1 institution. Well, if it's on the chancellor's radar, it should be on our radar. So we want to start making sure that we are preparing for that potential jump should it come down and come to fruition, right? So we're starting to think and act like an upper R2, lower R1 institution. Tammy's spending a lot of time on this in her role as associate dean. First thing we're doing this year is we changed how we do startups. We are providing competitive startups that I would argue will compete with any school in the country in terms of startups. In terms of resources that they need, we're still working on that piece, but we're getting there. But in terms of course reductions out of the gate for tenure track faculty, in terms of research assistants, in terms of, Tammy, I should have put bullet points. What else am I forgetting? Travel support for conferences. I know there's one more thing I forget. Point being, we are going to make sure that everybody that comes into this college in a tenure track line has the resources they need to be successful, not for where we are now, but to be successful for where we aim to be in 5 to 7 years. And that is more R1 light. And to do that, they need resources and they need time to do research. I'm talking about research. I haven't talked a lot about teaching. It's not because I'm prioritizing research. It's not because I'm valuing research over teaching. We're trying to do things to make sure we recognize excellence in the classroom. That's still a priority. That defines who we are. If you read that opening line on that first figure, it said enriched through service and then research, and teaching goes in that service for me. I just didn't say education because then the statement becomes kind of cumbersome. That's who we are. We serve and we educate. That's what we do best. We want to bring the research up to a comparable level and be prepared should we make that jump, or as we contribute to the effort to make that jump to R1 status. So I hope you don't leave saying, well, he talked about research, he didn't talk about teaching. I guess he doesn't care about teaching. That's not the case. We're instituting a grant mentoring program. I've had success with this in the past. One of the best ways to get somebody over the hump, so to speak, in terms of a new skill and a new accomplishment is to have somebody help them over the hump. We have excellent faculty doing excellent research, and sometimes they just need a little guidance to make a good proposal a fundable proposal. That's two very different things. A good proposal isn't necessarily fundable. So how do we take our good proposals and make them fundable? We're going to bring in experts in that content area to help them convert that good proposal into a fundable proposal. We put out a call for applications. This year we selected 3 people that are in a mentoring program. We've already got all 3, right, Tammy? All 3, yeah. All 3 are already aligned with mentors outside of SIU who are nationally recognized for what they do and for the significance of their research programs, which includes funding. If we're going to look to make a jump, we've got to put resources to support that jump. And so that's what we're going to do. We're looking to hire a grant support specialist. I was here about a month when I was continuing some of the research I had started at my previous institution, and I had to submit a budget for a proposal. And Kelly, who's fantastic over in hospice, sent me a form and said, "You need to fill out this budget." What? I remembered my own rule. I had never filled out a budget form. There's people that do that. I don't know how many pencils I need to request in my indirect funding. We have people for that kind of thing. So we're going to try to get you, not people, but a person to help you manage the grant process. We're providing grant-related workshops. We're doing a summer research support program. Some of you are just coming off that, where you receive salary or contract. We're on contract to do research. We're restarting the undergraduate research assistantship program, where you can apply for support to have research assistants work in your research with you. And we're going to provide some funding for graduate students to pursue their research. It's going to be competitive. They're going to have to develop a grant-like proposal, but we're going to select some students and we're going to fund their research. Again, we're fortunate in this college. We're the biggest and the best, and we get some resources that others may not have. We're going to put those resources back into supporting you, the faculty, the staff, and the grad students, and undergrads where we can. Diversity, equity, inclusion. You know, you look around the room, it doesn't take a scientist to see we need to do better in terms of our diversity, at least by way of visible diversity, right? So we need to continue to look at what we're doing and how we're operating. That includes in terms of hiring. It also includes how we function and what's our culture. SIU beat us to the punch. We were going to do a climate survey. One school already did, and we were going to do it, but SIU did, so we didn't have to, so that was great. So we're examining that data. Tammy's getting down into the weeds of this data. We're trying to figure out how does that apply? What can we pull from that at the college level? Because we have the college level data. What can we pull from that? What can we make of that to improve what we're doing and to improve how we're operating? I said earlier, we're bringing in students that aren't necessarily prepared for the rigors of a university. So we're thinking about what can we do to help these at-risk students who oftentimes come from diverse and marginalized populations. Well, we want to develop programming to be of assistance. So one of the things we're looking at is incentivizing study hours. I was thinking about this in terms of where are the cracks? Where are students falling through the cracks? And many students just don't really understand when and how to study. And I thought back to my college experience. I didn't have mandatory study hours, and my first year was not good. I left the university to go to a junior college because I wanted to leave before I got kicked out. But you can learn, you can figure it out. My kids all had mandatory study hours as part of the Greek systems at their respective universities. All three of my kids went Greek. They're a bit bougie as well. They had mandatory study hours. My son was pre-med. It wouldn't have been an issue. He would have studied. My daughters, I don't know. One in particular, we're like, fun, study, where's she going to fall? She'd be that 50% if she didn't necessarily have help, we were worried. So taking that idea, thinking of it in terms of our athletes, they're on scholarship, they're mandated to attend study hours. Why can't we do that? Instead of pay to play, we'll do, I don't know, dough for study, I don't know, whatever it is. But incentivize study hours. We spend a lot of money this year on the back end to catch students who became at risk and who were failing out. And we spend a lot of money to ease some of their debt and to get them back registered. Let's take some of that money and put it on the front end and see if we can avoid that at-risk piece and the stress associated with that. So we're going to incentivize study hours for at-risk students. We're going to do a writing retreat for underserved faculty. Things where we can reach out to enhance the experience for our faculty, our staff, and our students from diverse backgrounds. Okay, this is yes. They're not walking out on me, just so you know. They're going over to the open house to get it square and make sure everything's ready. They might walk out on me some other time, but that's not what that one is. This is the last substantive slide. In terms of development, you can see our goals that were developed for us. Steph and I didn't really have input on those. That's what was written into the SIU campaign, the forever, supposed to say forever there, forever SIU campaign. So you can see we have lofty goals. Along those lines, we're kicking off an automotive campaign, specifically this fall. That campaign alone is targeted at 10 million. We have a lot of work to do there, but that's our goal. So we have our college level goals. I always think of it in terms of what are the college goals, but then what are my personal goals? What do I want to accomplish in this year or in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years? And I already told you one of my top goals for this year. I want to generate a revenue source, a funding, it's not revenue, a funding source for at least one, hopefully more, at least one school where I get a donation that I can convert into salary for faculty and staff. That's my goal for this year. I really don't want to come up here next year and say, I didn't make it, sorry. That's my goal. And I'm stating it publicly. I really hesitated to do so because I know that sets up expectations. But that's my number one fundraising goal this year. We have other goals, other things we want to do. Again, we want to recognize you. We'll have a faculty and staff appreciation tailgate. Come out, have some free food, couple drinks. Couple means two on the house. Anything above that you can do, but it becomes a cash bar at that point. But just to thank you, and again recognize all the work you do, all the service you provide for others. Nothing wrong with being a good servant and at the same time getting a little recognition along the way, right? All right, so just a couple of things real quick by way of announcements. We have the College Connection coming up. That's on August 31st. Hopefully you can join us for that. There'll be prizes and games for our students. The more of us that are out there, the more connected they feel to us, the more we'll have fun. We'll have a dunk tank. Several of us will be in there. And then we have the open house immediately following this at 3:30. So I hope you can join there. And that's what I have. So questions for me before Valerie and the school directors introduce their faculty and staff. And Chris has a microphone. Phil?
How big are the 2 drinks?
Yours is supersized. Michael?
When we talk about retention, one thing that advisor that I recognize is for students that have complexity is first-time students, generation college students. And is there
Just a
way-
second. Can you all hear? Yeah? Okay. Go ahead. So first time?
Yeah, first generation college students.
Oh, push the button on the bottom. Yeah. Maybe I have to.
I'll turn around.
Okay.
I'll turn around and talk. Sorry, I'm moving down. First time college students, in other words, they're the first generation students, their family come to college. There's a way we can identify who those students are before they get here. And not to, again, marginalize them any further than they may be, but identify that. And then have a layer of support for that. Has that been brought into your kind of calculus about retention?
Yes, excellent question. So you all can hear that. The question was about, are we doing something to target our first generation students? And that's a part of who we're targeting in that Incentivize the Study program. There's going to be other stuff around that. Chris is working on tutoring program. We're going to do some advising in the LLC to make sure we help keep in touch with our students. But when we think of the incentivized studying, for example, that was the reason for my meeting with Paul Frazier that I referenced earlier. I asked Paul, who do we target? He says, very simple. First gen, Pell Grant eligible. You target those two, and you're hitting a lot of your at-risk students. So the answer to your question is yes. I will add to that, that's an excellent question. If you have ideas, we would love to hear it. If you have an idea for a way that we can reach our at-risk students and enhance the likelihood of their success, Chris and I want to hear it. We have some ideas. They're not proven. We're going to experiment where we can. We spent last week doing a literature search to see, is there anything out there on mandatory study hours? There's not. If anybody needs a dissertation, there's one to be had. But if you have ideas, we want to hear them. So excellent point. Other questions? Okay, you're all letting me off easy. Oh, Phil, sheesh. See, I almost cursed again. I changed it to sheesh. Yeah.
Serious question. You've been here a year. What would you say your biggest surprise has been?
The magnitude of, I don't know how, magnitude of hurt feelings, the morale. I knew the morale issues. I did not understand the depth. And as I said, I'm usually pretty good about beating myself up. I didn't beat myself up one iota on that because I don't think anybody coming in from the outside could understand it. You have to be here and hear the stories. You have to be here and see the impact to understand it. And it took me 8 months, and that was the surprise. And quite frankly, why I've spent so much time thinking about it. Yeah. Anybody else? I'm happy to answer any questions. Tell you what, if you have a question you don't want to ask in the public forum, I'll be hanging out afterwards until I have to go over to the LLC. You can ask then. But I always do this and add staff going once. All right, I'm going to turn it over. I'll give one more opportunity for questions for me or any of the school directors or associate deans. But at this point, we need to figure out a microphone. I guess we just hand it around. Okay, go ahead, Valerie.
Okay, so I would like to introduce our new advisors for this academic year. Our very newest advisor is Mariah Holger. Just joined the School of Health Sciences and will be taking over healthcare management advisement. And then we have Chris Malazzo. There he is in the back. School of Aviation. And I will just say, since Brittany left, we had a vacancy in automotive. So Amy Lemrice has moved to the School of Automotive. And then Michelle Howerton Vargas Are you here, Michelle? She actually was hired as the floater for the university in general, but then when we got decentralized, I took her. And she's staying with us, and she currently is in the School of Human Sciences, but will be transitioning to the School of Psychological and Behavioral Sciences as their permanent advisor once we get someone hired. So those are, did I miss anyone? I have a note. Oh, Sean. That's it. Thank you.
Drew?
Got it working.
I'd like to have Shane, Oliver, and Amy stand up. We'll start with Amy. Amy doesn't report directly to what's now, but she was kind enough to move over from aviation to join us in automotive. She's been a huge help all summer. It's been busy, but fairly quiet in the building. And I just want to thank Amy for coming over. And Shane Gill is a new NTT faculty member in automotive. He joined us February. And so Shane joins us after 30 years with Chrysler, now known as Stellantis, and worked as a tech advisor. Yeah. And so he's been with us since February. He's already kind of in the group, but we're really glad to have him. Oliver Keys is our newest addition. He also joins us from Chrysler, now Stellantis, and he was a district manager, right, Oliver? And also a graduate of automotive. I should have said that about Shane as well. And so he's returning, and he'll be our newest tenure track faculty. We're glad to have him.
All right, go.
Hello, everyone. This, the aviation industry is really recovering from the COVID pandemic. And unfortunately, as a result, when things are really good, we have a high turnover in the workforce that we have at the School of Aviation because they all want to work with the airlines where they make big money. So basically, I have one person who was promoted to associate professor. That's Matt Romero. Matt, are you here? Okay, now, as far as the turnover is concerned, I have 26 new staff members and faculty members. Dean, as you can see, I have bios for all of them. Dean should take 45 minutes. What I'm going to go ahead and just read off these names for you, and I'll give you a little bio because it's so voluminous. We have Joseph De Antonio. He's one of our flight instructors. We have Adam De Antonio. Another flight instructor. These are all flight instructors. Alfred Kinchin, Verncelin Allen, Sophia Otterson, Sarah Cada, Zachary Martin, Meadow Bowden, Colin Heisler, Daniel Grzuski, Sarah O'Connor, Matthew Redmond, Austin Sweeney, Kevin Vasquez, Max Wise, and Jacob Waldman. We also have a new aviation management assistant professor, and that's Mr. Kenny Bro. Kenny, at one point, stand up, Kenny. Kenny, for the last 4 or 5 years, Kenny has been our chief flight instructor, and he's transitioning to becoming an assistant professor. And of course, Chris Malazzo was also introduced a bit earlier, and it's good to have him on board as well. Within the maintenance shop, we have Mr. Colby Collins. Within executive transportation, Paige Lopp is the new office manager. And we have several extended campus adjunct faculty members. That's Carlos Cozart, David Key, David Leitz, Jeffrey Nelson, and Doug Kimmel, who is the airport manager of the Veterans Airport of Southern Illinois. He's one of our adjuncts. And Mr. Elliot Benton, who's an air traffic controller at the Southern Illinois Airport. That's it. Thank you very much.
We almost been as busy as Joe and his team. And so I just want to say thank you to everybody on that. But we've got a lot of new hires. I'm going to start off with the folks that are on campus. Dina Barnett is a customer service representative. She's civil service with us, and she came to us from UCC, so welcome. Yancey Cruz is an assistant professor for the CARE program, came to us from Puerto Rico. Erica Blumenstock, an assistant professor in nursing, came to us from Nashville. Xiaoyu Yilu is assistant lecturer in the HCM, MHA area. Jason Mings is an assistant lecturer in communication disorders and sciences. He's not here. Denise Croft, I doubt she's here because she just got hired this morning. So that one's brand new. Karma Smith is our new recruitment retention specialist that started this morning as well. So welcome, Karma. Heather Brown is an assistant lecturer in nursing. She's from Southern Illinois area. Is she here to? She's finishing at the hospital and will start here next week. So welcome. Samuel Perry, an assistant lecturer with the mortuary science program. Monica Gray is an assistant professor of practice in the mortuary science program. Welcome. She's from the Chicago area. And Mary Auberton is a dentist in our community dental center and our dental hygiene program. She's been with us since spring. So another person that's going to be on campus this year is Robert Rados. He came back to us out of retirement as an emergency hire to assist us with many of the vacancies that we're having. So he's going to be joining us again this semester. And then we've got several off-campus PRN type NTTs for the nursing program that we've hired. They'll be serving in the hospital, doing the clinic instruction, those type of things. I'll just go through the list there because I know all those folks are not here. So, but Aletha Aiden, Rashunan Jenkins, Jackie Giacone, Ann Hustad, Heather Julian, Sandra Carlim, Jasmine Lewis, Rebecca McElrose, and Nikki Travelstead. And we also have several searches that failed. And I just want to say thank you to the team for everybody that's taken a lot of extra duties this fall because we're going to continue those searches so we can hopefully get them to start January 1. But thank you to the team. All right.
As our business manager, she has been tremendous asset to our team. Continue us from the law school. So, yeah. Also, this fall welcoming Jenny Jacobson. Jenna is, let's stand up, Jenna. Jenna is a 2012 graduate of our more importantly, program director for our MPH program. Maybe require, maybe we should student of our MSC2 program director tonight. We are happy to welcome Dr. Wasantha Jayawardene as a professor in public health. He joins us from Indiana University doing some.
I'm Matt Giblin, Director of the School of Justice Public Safety. Like my peers, I have 24 names to go through. Actually, I have 3 names. I still wrote it down on a sheet of paper, though. First, Hamdi Yazayur is here. Hamdi was hired as an assistant professor of practice in criminology and criminal justice. So he'll be teaching courses in cybercrime, terrorism, and other areas in his specialty. So welcome, Hamdi. Joe Calvert, who I don't see, was hired as an assistant professor of practice in paralegal studies. He'll be teaching a variety of classes in law. Paralegal program. And last but not least, I really want to give a special welcome to who joined us in 20. He takes after Christina started. We lost our only other staff member. He's been running our school for last 8 weeks. It's really kept us afloat. So not only is she new, she's been doing it. Years here.
You have to- okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Reza Habib. I'm the director of the School of Psychological and Behavioral Sciences. I'm keeping my all-star team, so I don't have any faculty this year to report, but we did hire an office administrator, Debbie Simpson, and she has been, like Matt, has been a lifesaver for us. We went for about 8 months without someone, and we got her in March, and so Debbie, she's not here right now. She's in the department right now, but that's our hire. Thanks.
All right, I wanted to give one last chance for any last questions or comments before we disperse. And for those of you interested, make your way over to the LLC. And again, there'll be refreshments over there, cake, cookies, punch, that sort of thing. So any last questions, comments?
Like last year, I'm going to be emceeing the college connection event on the 31st. And we'll be doing some door prize giveaways. And I'm instituting a new program this year. For every $10 you give to me, your chance of winning goes up by 10%. So $100, you're guaranteed to win something.
Thank you, Phil. Anybody else? All right, thank you for coming today. I'll hang out for a little bit. Thank you for coming. Hope to see you over there. And most importantly, I hope you have a great 22-23 school year.